So I've been sitting with this idea of the universe being my dom. And so how this came to be is after my divorce and things were really out of my control, I decided to lean into this surrender of instead of feeling like my life is completely out of my control and I don't like it, I said, well, maybe I actually freaking love it. Because now here I am and I can live wherever I want. I can do whatever I want. All of a sudden I have all this freedom on the other side that I didn't even know was possible. And I wouldn't say I was suppressed by any means before, but it was heightened levels of liberation within myself that I had yet to access. But it took me going into my biggest fear and my biggest nightmare for me to reach my highest liberation on the other side. Welcome back to the Highest Self podcast. My name is Sahara Rose, and this podcast is all about taking spirituality and making it modern, fun, grounded, pleasurable, relatable, so it can actually serve the needs of today's people. Because the truth is, spirituality is not about leaving your body and ascending to the one cosmos where you have no human desires, but rather it's being in your body, in your experiences, in your desires, in your pleasure, with community, with love, with the soil, with the dirt, with the blood, with all of it, that full spectrum. And in my own journey, the more I embody my full expression, the more I talk about the things that normally before I would have been embarrassed to talk about, held shame around, when I can bring those things to light, I actually become a more alive and rich and also joyful and expressed person. So the conversation we're going to be having today is a little bit racy. It's a little bit sexy. It's definitely a topic you've never seen on any podcast, let alone a spiritual podcast before. So we're going to get into it. It's going to be fun. And this is a concept I've been sitting with for a long time. I wasn't sure if I would talk about it on the podcast, but here we are. We're talking about it. If you've read the subject of this podcast, you know it's about to go down. So sensuality is a huge part of our lives, but the thing is, most of us women are not feeling sensually fulfilled. We get turned on from the mind. That's where foreplay really starts. And that's why I love Dipsea, which is an app full of hundreds of short, sexy audios designed by women for women. So imagine you're on your walk, but you're actually listening to this sexy, romantic adventure of someone just swoops you off your feet and takes you into surrendered bliss. Those are the kind of stories you get on Dipsea. So they are spicy, all different flavors for every type of person, both single and queer. They also have sleep stories, wellness sessions, and other sexy-ridden stories to read. So for listeners of the show, Dipsea is offering an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipseastories.com/Sahara. That's 30 days of free access when you go to dipseastories.com/Sahara, and you can find that link in the show notes. So God is my dom. What does that mean? So in my own journey, especially in the past year after going through my divorce and really hitting the darkest night of my soul when I was just like, Spirit, lead me. Like, Jesus, take the wheels. Like, I have no idea what to do. I'm so overwhelmed. I have to move. I have just so much I need to really human 3D things I have to deal with. And I just felt so out of control in my life. And that to me was when my surrender experiment started. I started to notice that my entire life, I have held on to the illusion of control. I have been made to believe that if I predicted the future, then I would be safe. In fact, when I was in high school, me and my friends had a future club where we would sit and like talk about what colleges we're going to go to and all the things we're going to do in the future because we loved the future so much. And while that's fun, like I love, manifesting and thinking about my intentions and stuff, the truth is, did anything we talk about at the Future Club happen? No, I don't have 100 dolphins and I don't work at the UN and have 1,000 orphans around the world. And I'm not the new Angelina Jolie, but the marine biologist version and also a pop star. Unfortunately, that has yet to occur. I'm waiting on it. But things that have happened that are beyond my wildest dream. Like I'm sitting here talking on air with you guys. So I don't know if my high school self would be impressed with this or not, but here we are. And this is what's happening. So I say this because we think our lives are going to go a certain way, but God, being our cosmic Dom, has other things in store for us. So what do I mean when I say my Dom? So that really comes from the BDSM kink community, which is something I have been really learning and diving into. And we're going to be having a conversation here with Yosef, who really teaches about conscious kink. And we've talked about Tantra with BB, and I love bringing sacred sexuality here on the podcast. But the concept of a Dom is someone who has your best interest at heart and is here to guide you, but sometimes it's giving you not what you want, but what you need. It is always doing it, though, from a place of love. It's always supporting you. It always has your best interest in mind. And many of us have never had that in our lives. We never really had a parent figure or someone that we could trust that even when you're not letting me do that thing, I know it's for my highest good. But there's something that's really sexy about that. Like there's something that's so sexy, especially if you lean in the feminine, of this force that is always watching after you and always wants you to get what you want in life and is always working to support you in your highest good. And it's like, your wish is my command, and I'm going to make sure that you can hold this. I'm going to give you what you're ready for, and I'm going to prepare you so you could really embody that thing that you're calling in, because it's the only way that's going to be long-standing and you'll be able to hold it. So I've been sitting with this idea of the universe being my Dom. And so how this came to be is after my divorce and things were really out of my control, I decided to lean into this surrender of, instead of feeling like my life is completely out of my control and I don't like it, I said, well, maybe I actually freaking love it. Because now here I am and I can live wherever I want. I can do whatever I want. All of a sudden I have all this freedom on the other side that I didn't even know was possible. And I wouldn't say I was suppressed by any means before, but it was heightened levels of liberation within myself that I had yet to access. But it took me going into my biggest fear and my biggest nightmare for me to reach my highest liberation on the other side. So I could see that the universe had my best interest at heart, but I needed to go through something that was painful for me to get there. And that's where this concept of the universe and God, whatever you want to call it, source, cosmos, whatever term feels good to you, but this benign force that has your best interest at heart and wants you to win and wants you to succeed, but is doing it with so much love and protection. And when we can feel into that I am always cosmically supported, and even the things that seem painful for me right now are actually leading me to what I really want in life, and I will always get what I'm ready for. And if I don't have the thing that I want, it just means I'm not ready for it. And for me, when I started to try this philosophy on, my life became beyond my wildest dreams. I found myself days later at the Great Pyramids of Egypt. After that, meeting with the princess of Dubai, then being in Bali, having these crazy experiences, going to water purification ceremonies and temples and meeting these interesting people, and then meeting someone that had a stage at Envision Festival, which was my dream DJ festival to always DJ. And then I ended up headline DJing at her stage at Envision Festival, and then going to Trinidad Carnival, and then dancing on a float with Nicki Minaj. And it was one thing to the next to the next. And I was like, oh shit, God, the universe has my best interest at heart and it's guiding me. And all I got to do is listen. And when we're able to let go of control and trust that we are guided to something that is beyond what we could expect, we open up timelines that we could have never predicted. If you told me 1 year ago, how do you predict the next year will be? I would have said, I think my business is going to grow. Maybe I'll go on a fun trip. I don't know, spend time with friends. I would have just told you some basic ass shit, right? I would have not have told you I'd be twerking with Nicki Minaj at the Trinidad Carnival. Let me just say that. Didn't see that one coming. Definitely wouldn't have told you I was getting a divorce. So here we are, heightened levels of full spectrum aliveness when we can surrender to what is. And the truth is, if you are an empowered woman, an entrepreneur, a spiritual queen, a goddess, you're probably holding a lot. You're probably energetically holding space for your friends, your family, and a lot for yourself. You're probably always processing, healing, psychoanalyzing yourself, looking at yourself, thinking about your intentions, manifesting with the new moon, looking at your inner child, being responsible not just for your trauma, but your parents' trauma, then your grandparents' trauma, then your grandparents' trauma. I'm like, oh shit, now I'm healing my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather's trauma. Come on, y'all got to be responsible for yourselves. But it's like we hold on to so much and we make ourselves so overly responsible. And we're holding and we're controlling. And, part of this is our gift. A lot of us, we have a very high capacity. We can hold a lot energetically. We can multitask. The feminine is great at multitasking. We actually have a different brain structure than men who are much more task and focus minded, whereas we are a lot more like, what's happening here? What's happening there? It actually came from evolutionary survival mechanisms. However, because of that, we're always thinking about a million things. Right? We're never present in that one thing we're doing. We're in the yoga class thinking about grocery shopping, and then we're grocery shopping thinking about how we need to do more yoga. And we're always somewhere else. And we're living in our heads constantly. Like, do you ever feel like you're just constantly in your head processing, thinking, analyzing, reanalyzing? And we've created these stories, I know I have, that like, well, I'm thinking about all my life's problems, so this thinking is helping me. This is helpful thinking, it's getting me somewhere. So then you write the pros and cons list, and you write the things that you're worried about, and you write this and you write that, and you're thinking and you're looking at all the potential scenarios that could happen. And then guess what? None of those things happened. Something totally else happened, and you just kind of wasted all of that brain space that you could have been enjoying life. You could have been breathing. You could have been self-touching and dancing and being in the sun and being in your body and your radiance and joy, but instead you were thinking about all these future timelines that never actually happened. And we're living our lives like this, always living in the future. So a lot of people ask me, how do you just record a solo cast where you're going off cuff, telling these amazing stories, making it really interesting and conversational and funny at the same time? Like, do you have a script? How do you do this? And the truth is, no, I don't. I just enter into this kind of channeled realm, and I share with you my process on how I was able to go from an awkward to a confident speaker in my new course, Speak with Soul. So this is a 21-day guided journey that I custom curated just for you, for the people out there who have incredible messages to share, but they feel like their throat chakras are a little bit blocked. They're in their head, they stutter, they don't know how to tell an interesting story. So every single day for 21 days, we're going to be working together in this course. And by the end of it, you're going to record your podcast intro. So if you're ready to get started, head over to speakwithsoulcourse.com. Again, that's speakwithsoulcourse.com. And you can find that link in the show notes. And hey, you better have me on your podcast when you're blowing this shit up. So instead of the power of now, we're going to try on God is my Dom. So imagine if God, the universe, had your best interest in mind, and if you could surrender to this force and notice the synchronicities that are guiding you there. So synchronicities are winks from the universe. These winks are like, okay, you are in alignment. I'm going to send you a little summon so you know what's up. So for me, lots work through license plates. Like whenever I'm always looking at license plates, and, I made this decision that I was going to Portugal, and all of a sudden I was seeing my initials on every license plate, like 4 within 2 days, like first, middle, and last name. I was like, what? So license plates, picking up your phone, 222, 333, 445, 555, angel numbers, or your special number, whatever that is for you. Thinking about someone, they call you, someone saying exactly what you need to say. But also I've noticed that when you're on this God is my Dom pathway, timelines happen much quicker for you. So maybe you are dating someone and you're not sure about them. Maybe it could work, maybe it can't. There's some yellow flags, let's say. When you are on this pathway of trusting and surrendering and being completely open to what is, eyes open, heart open, maybe it would have taken you 1 or 2 years of dating this person to realize that they were not your person because you were on this muggle timeline, the slower timeline. But when you were in the God is my Dom timeline, things happen in hyper speed. And then all of a sudden this person shows you who they truly are within like 24 hours. And then you didn't need to waste 1-2 years of your life with this person to figure out the thing that it just took 24 hours for you to learn, because you are in a space of listening. And when you are a space of listening, God, as your Dom, is always sending you signals. It's always telling you what's up. It's always showing you the path, and it's always for your highest good. And then when we can trust and lean into that, we don't need to control so much, because control is our mind's way of saying, I know what's best. I know what is supposed to happen based on my understanding of today. But given what you know today about your life, do you think you could have made all of the decisions on your life from your last year level of consciousness? No. You're like a totally different person from last year to now, right? Because we're on the spiritual heightened God is my Dom pathway. You probably already have been micro on it. Now you're like fully taking the hero's dose of it. So then you're like, wow, I could have never seen all of these things that were happening on the side that my conscious mind was not even aware of. So thank Goddess, I didn't make long-term decisions for my life at that moment of consciousness, because my field of awareness has grown. And now I can see things running in the background. I can see what's underneath the hood of the car, of this person, of this dynamic, of this job, of this friendship, of this home. I'm not living in fantasy or delusion anymore, but rather I can see the total reality. So that doesn't mean that everything works out how we wanted it to work out from a past point, but everything will work out how we need. Right? We will always get what we want or something better, because sometimes the things that we want aren't what we need. So when we can trust God as our Dom, we know that we are getting exactly what we need when we need it. So for example, was there ever a job that you really wanted and you're like, I would do anything to get that job? Like you were super nervous at your interview, you were doing all the right things and you didn't get that job and you were super bumhurt about it. You're like, why didn't I get it? Life is so unfair. Why is this happening? And it sucked maybe for like a week or two. And then flash forward maybe a few months later, you're like, thank the Goddess I did not get that job, because it would have taken me into a timeline of my life that was not my highest timeline. So that rejection was actually protection and redirection, because now I'm in this totally different experience that would not have happened. So we can actually be so grateful for the things that God did not give us, because those things weren't serving our highest good. So when something is falling apart, that's medicine. That's exactly what we needed. And whatever shadows that's bringing up in us, that's what needed to be healed. So let's say you are dating someone and all of a sudden they break up with you and it feels really out of the blue and you're like, how did this happen? How did I not see this coming? What did I do wrong? You're going into self-blame. You're going into being really critical, like thinking about everything you said to that person. Did I say this? Did I come off too strong? Did I that? Well, there's your pattern right there. There's your pattern that when things go wrong, you blame yourself and you make yourself wrong rather than maybe the fact that you just weren't compatible. Maybe that person is needing something else in their life. Maybe you're needing something else in your life, which honestly, if they're needing something else, you are, because it takes two to tango and you wouldn't want to be in a relationship with someone that doesn't want to be in a relationship with you. So instead of being like, why was this thing taken from me? Or I see all these things like how to win your ex back. Why would you want to win someone back that doesn't want you? Instead, if you're trusting this person is out of my life for a reason, and it's always for my highest good, and here's my evidence, look at my life now, then you're like, thank you for clearing the path. Thank you for showing me sooner than later. Thank you for making it quick and easy. Thank you for taking away from me what I wouldn't have had the courage to step away from myself. Right? And sometimes, especially those of us who are empaths and we care so much about other people and we're very loyal, we stay in relationships for too long because our wishful thinking is waiting for the dynamic to change and waiting for them to stop taking us for granted and waiting for them to heal and grow and see us in the ways that we want to be seen. So we're holding on wishful thinking. And then God, as our Dom, is like, oh, honey, let me give this girl the love that she really deserves, which is way more than anything that she sees for herself right now. She doesn't even believe that she's worthy of this love, but she is. So I'm going to take away this relationship that she is in that she thinks is the highest love that she's ever known, but it's not. It's actually like a 50%. And I'm going to take this away from her because I know she's not going to step away from it herself. And by taking it away, that's going to cause her to look at all of the things underneath the car, go through her healing journey, of looking at her childhood, her inner teenager, suppressed traumas, limiting beliefs, coping mechanisms, patterns, all of these different ways that we show up in the world for her to heal. And then she can be a vibrational match for a love that she never even knew was possible. Because God has your back. Spirit wants you to live in love. You are love embodied. And when you can trust that, you can trust what's showing up in your field, and stepping out of your field is all cosmically divine. So notice what's showing up, both light and shadow. What people, what situations, what emotions within yourself. That's the soul's curriculum. That is the workshop that God is putting you in right now. Okay, I'm going to teach you the communication workshop, how to speak your needs in a conflict. That's the workshop we're in right now, honey. And I'm going to do it with so much love. I'm going to teach you the workshop of you are whole even on your own. I'm going to put you in the situation where you can realize that and cultivate self-love. I'm going to put you in the situation of trusting the universe is an abundant place and I will always get my needs taken care of. I'm going to put you in the workshop of asking for help and trusting that I can be supported by other people. And guess what, honey? The workshops don't end. The shit keeps going. So don't feel like, oh my God, I'm in another one. How do I get out of this? But instead, it's like, thank you for polishing me, for teaching me. And then once we start to enjoy it, we're like, ooh, yes, I'm in this situation now. Ooh, new curriculum. Let's see what's up. And then it's fun and it's sexy and you're like excited because you know there's going to be greater levels of pleasure and intimacy and depth and joy and fun and all the things that you desire on the other side of this. There always is. Like, have you ever gone through a hard time that there wasn't like equal levels of growth and love and light on the opposite side? No, and if you said, no, I haven't, well, first of all, I doubt you're listening to this podcast, but maybe that just means you haven't received the lesson. Because as soon as you receive the lesson, I've seen this happen like literally in quantum time. When I receive the lesson and I'm like, okay, I learned what I needed to learn from this situation, the situation disappears. Always. It's like instantly, it's like that chord is done. My soul didn't need that curriculum anymore. And then I move on to the next timeline. And that's what our souls are doing here. It's like, okay, you are here to help me replay a trauma where I feel like I'm not enough. And once I realize that I'm enough, I don't need to play out this trauma anymore. Graduation happens and I move on to the timeline where I realize I'm enough. And then there's something else that we're going to work on. And there's something else, but you don't need to keep working on the same trauma again and again. And then when you become open to it, you start to experience joy from it. You start to experience like this excitement of, ooh, where am I being guided to next? Like, this is taking me places I would have never gone myself. And I can trust that this is always for my highest good because the universe loves me. It protects me. It wants what's sexiest for me, what's most delicious and alive for me. And I relish in Sky Daddy that always has my back. So I invite you to try on this perspective. This is my new theory. And I'm curious to see how it plays out in your life. So share with me over on Instagram how it feels to surrender to God as your Dom. Does it feel a little racy? Are you like, oh my God, are we allowed to say this? It's like, yes, bitch, we can say whatever we want. Because when we are fully liberated souls, we are no longer afraid of other people's projections. We don't need to play in any box. We can be so deep in the depths of consciousness and do it with grace and humor and sexiness and joy because it's all interconnected. And the universe is here to surprise and delight you. The universe is in love with you. Think about it that way. The universe has a massive crush on you and it really wants to impress you and it just thinks you're the most delicious thing on earth and it's always looking for ways to give you the things that you want by preparing you for it. Doesn't that feel good? Doesn't it make you feel so just like held, right? You're just like, I can let go of trying to control everything. That shit did not work. And instead, I can just trust that I'm always being guided. I'm always being shown. I'm always getting exactly what I need when I need it. And life just keeps getting sexier. So share with me over on Instagram and share this episode. Like this is a fun way if you're kind of like, I want to hop out of the spiritual closet and let people know who I really am inside. Let you share my voice at first. You're just like, okay, Sahara said it, not me. And then that gives you a little bit of confidence for you to start speaking in the way that you want to speak. The old me 7 years ago when I started this podcast could have never imagined doing something like this. And here I am pushing my own limits and my own, ways of showing up, because to me, that's why we're here, to be more full spectrum and more alive. So share it on your Instagram stories, share with your friends, have a racy conversation about it. And if you love this episode and you would love more like this, please leave a review on the iTunes store. Share with me what kind of topics you'd love for me to do some solo casts about. I love jamming on the things that I'm working on in my life, my theories. If you have any questions or something, leave that in the reviews. I read every single one and I love it. It feels so good. And as a free gift, I will send you my womb meditation. So this is a meditation to connect to your sacred womb space and receive her answers, because the truth is they're all within, whether you have a physical womb or not. We all carry that energetic cosmic portal within ourselves. So leave a review, write down your questions, any themes you want me to talk about, take a screenshot and email it over to me. I'm gonna be your dom. Email that shit over to me at Sahara@IamSaharaRose.com. You can find that email in the show notes and I'll send you back my womb meditation. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.